take a moment to thank our sponsor, CatchMark Technologies. If you're looking for technical support, structured cabling, cybersecurity, or digital marketing, they're your go-to team. With tons of experience, they will guide you through all of your technical problems. Reach out to them at catchmarkit.com. All right. Welcome to episode number 3 of the Benchwarmers Perspective. Today, I'm here with Drew to my left and Pat to my right. Longtime Montague football coach and then state champion, both state champions in football. Tell me a little bit about just Montague as a community, coming up, you growing up in the community and then coaching there and how you got there.
Yeah, for me, I was always around it. I mean, when your dad's the coach and they were successful, it was like my whole fall was just football.
Yep.
And even sometimes into the summers, like that's all I really knew. So yeah, the community had a lot of support. They loved the team just as much as myself. So it was like we were all going through that kind of thing together. And it just kind of became my life. Like that was just everything I wanted to do, everything I wanted to be. So yeah, it was just like when you see people get excited for something and you're a little kid, like it makes you excited about it.
Yeah,
so,
it makes you want to do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then tell me a little bit about your journey. Like how I know you are from Montague, but how you got back, how you started coaching, things like that.
Yeah, it's a long story, but I'm going to try to make it brief.
Oh, we got time.
You got time? Okay.
Yeah,
so
we got plenty of time.
So when I was 2, we moved from Kalamazoo.
Yeah.
And I loved football. I didn't know anything about Montague.
Yeah.
So I grew up in the town, and then I was following Muskegon Catholic football highly because in our family, our kids were starting to go through Montague schools, but we would go through Montague schools and a little bit of St. James Catholic, and then my brothers transferred over to Muskegon Catholic.
Yeah.
So that was kind of just the expectation, I guess, that we were going to do. So when I was young, I was falling in love with football more by following Muskegon Catholic football, not necessarily Montague football. And they went to multiple state titles, so I experienced it as a little kid, and I used to cheer for them.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, I got to middle school, and my dad and Jeff Stark's dad, he was a Whitehall graduate and a player, and we both went to St. James Elementary, good buddy of mine still today. They sat us in a room just looks a lot like this and said, what are your guys' thoughts about going to Muskegon Catholic?
Yeah.
This should be a way better experience if you do that. And they left us in the room alone, and 15 minutes later, we came out and said, we're staying in our home school. We're not going to Catholic.
Yeah.
That was quite a shock for our dads. They wanted us to go that route. Neither Whitehall nor Montague were really that good at the time. And we just wanted to stay home and do something different. We felt connected with our friendships here, and so we hunkered in on that. And I remember going to watch Jeff and his buddies my junior year in big playoff run.
Yeah.
They went all the way up to the bridge and played in a game, and we went and watched them and stuff. We weren't in the playoffs, but and then of course the next year we were, as a senior, he was watching me in the state finals game.
Yeah.
So we both had pretty successful experiences, even though our dads really wanted us to leave.
Yeah.
But then I was off to college and played under Ken Diamond, a mentor of mine.
Yep.
Went to college, wanted to coach and teach. And eventually I just thought, I need a small town to coach in, I think, to start.
Yeah.
And Montague popped up. Whitehall actually popped up the year before. I applied and I didn't get an interview. And so I was pretty bummed out about that because I liked the area and I didn't really think about Montague, Whitehall. I had good buddies from Whitehall growing up like Jeff. And I didn't really think about the divide. So I was just like, I would love to work for Whitehall.
Yeah.
But I didn't get a shot there. But then I did get a shot at Montague's interview.
Yeah.
The next year was the following year that opened up when Ken Diamond stepped down. Took that job, brought the family with me, and we got it rolling. Started raising a family here and just doing a teacher coach thing, and it was an awesome time.
Yeah.
And
how much different do you think it would be if it had been Whitehall?
I think about it a little bit on occasion, like what would have happened.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have changed much. I would have did what I did, but there was a lot of things that lined up for me. Like, for example, when I got back to Montague, Ken Diamond already had it rolling.
Yeah.
I mean, he had already went through a major time where the program was very down, and then he reinitiated a lot of support.
Yeah.
And it took off again. So he changed the trajectory of Montague football. It was already on the rise when I showed up. So I just kind of came into that and got very lucky. to be a part of that. And then we kept rolling with what he started.
Yeah.
And the rest is history, like obviously it compounded. But the dream was really to come back and finish unfinished business, and great support by my wife, Drew's mother, Susan, who said, that's not cheesy. When I said, is that cheesy? To go back to your hometown and finish unfinished high school business? Like I want to win this for a lot of people that we didn't get it done when I was a senior. We lost. She's like, no, but that's not dumb. Like, let's go do it.
Yeah, come back with a vengeance.
That's what we did.
Yeah,
it was good.
You did it 3 times, actually.
Yeah, we did.
So what was tell me a little bit about, it was 2021, right? Tell me a little bit about that championship, playing Clinton in the playoff. The one thing I remember about that game was Trey, like that picture of Trey like flipped over on his back or whatever. But tell me about that championship a little bit.
Just the game specifically, man, it was like everything you worked for came to fruition. And like, even like for me, like those personal relationships, when you talk about Trey, like he's just like, it seems like the unsung heroes became heroes in the big day. You go throughout a season where we had COVID-19 and like had no fans, like as a friend and as a teammate, like I was happy for the guys that got more recognition for what I could see every single day in practice.
Yeah.
So you bring up Trey, like catching a pick and doing a flip. It's not like he was catching picks all year. Yeah. But like he's making tackles. He's our middle linebacker. He's the quarterback of the defense. And like that to me was just fun. Like it was just fun to see your best buddies and your teammates make plays and have fun. Yeah. Because that's really why we do it. I know that's why my dad loves it. And that's why we loved it. It kind of rained down from the coaching staff. Like Coach Cater as well, like they have fun doing this stuff, and that's what made it fun for us, like regardless of fans. I think about like Sam Smith, a longtime buddy of mine, like he's always blocking for his other receivers, and then he finally catches 3 touchdown passes in a game, ties a state record, and it's like that just makes me so happy that they finally on that stage, in that game specifically, like it wasn't like they were having these amazing games outside of that. But just like that game specifically, like it just felt like it was meant to be. Yeah. And that made me excited for them.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the journey getting there. Like what was tough? I mean, I know it was a long time ago, so it's hard for me to remember every game, and I didn't go to everyone, but tell me a little bit about that. And then how COVID challenged that a little bit. Because I know that's actually how SportsNet started was from Montague football had a great playoff run, and we wanted to be able to live stream it, and so that's how we started. But tell me a little bit about that. Tell me about the challenges as a coach and as a player.
Yeah, well, you're welcome, first of all.
Yeah. Thanks, Drew.
No, I guess my dad probably has a different perspective, and it's always, we talked a little bit just since I've been home for break about reminisced a little bit, but I have aspirations of coaching as well. So I kind of like to hear like what he has to say from his perspective. Because as a player, as much as we had that father-son relationship, I was mostly, it was player coach. Like and he could tell you this, I really just wanted to be part of the team. Yeah. So we kind of, I guess I'm saying this to say, like, I'm interested to hear his perspective. Yeah. But from my perspective, it started in our our loss to Glen Lake. It was heartbreaking. I wouldn't say that we were told that we didn't have a chance, but we weren't a featured. It wasn't like we were a bad class of football players. It was just that we had such good surrounding cast that it kind of overshadowed us a little bit. And we felt like that we weren't as successful in middle school, speaking of my senior class. But like that grade with Bryce Stark and Luke Marsh, and then the grade with Rem and Brennan, and those guys are they're freaks. They're great athletes. And they really built what we launched off of. So that kind of just being like, once they left, the way that they left was a loss to Glen Lake. The mixture of them leaving and us losing in a heartbreaking game like that, that's what kind of kickstarted that senior year. Like we were like, it's time. Like we cannot walk away and have that feeling that both of these classes left. And we didn't want to have that feeling. So it kind of starts right there. Like I printed off that picture, put it on the tree at our practice field. and everyone really bought in. And then COVID happens, and we start wondering, are we not going to have a season?
Yeah.
And the biggest moment with that was when was the first shutdown. We did, I think it was 2 weeks of two-a-days, and we grinded all summer. We had our team camps. We didn't have 7-on-7s, but we were allowed to have team camps, and we grinded during.
At this moment, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Chris Wink, Century 21 First Class Realty. Looking to sell or purchase a new home? Or perhaps invest in a plot of land? Chris Wink with Century 21 First Class Realty is your go-to expert. As a leader in West Michigan real estate, Chris brings unparalleled knowledge and dedication to every transaction. Don't wait. Call Chris Wink today at 616-414-5420 and take the first step towards your real estate dreams. Century 21 First Class Realty, your trusted partner in West Michigan property.
Two-a-days, and we were in the middle. I just remember being in the middle of a drill. I believe for the skill and linemen were separate, but I believe for the skill it was the Wildcat Rally, and that drill is like a continuous drill, so it was a very odd timing. But Coach Collins said, "All right, everyone, get a wash, get a drink." And I remember thinking, that's weird. Like, we were in the middle of Wildcat Rally. Wildcat Rally, we always finish that drill.
Yeah.
And it just, the vibes were weird, but we didn't really know what to expect. And basically, he just kind of addressed the team. We brought us together after we got a drink and said, we're done for the season as we know it at this point. Keep your heads up. And it was like you would have thought somebody died. Like
It was a heap of boys.
I can't even,
together.
I get emotional just thinking about like everybody on the team, whether you're a scout or a
We're
starter.
devastated.
Just, it was not a good scene on Montague's practice field. But that, to me, kind of emulates the journey getting there. And then I remember, I'll talk about the other shutdown. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but we just beat Muskegon Catholic, and it was 1-2, and we put a running clock on them. So we were set. We had a lot of confidence. We thought that we knew we were the team to beat. So getting shut down 2 days later was also devastating. But I always say, like, the longer they drag out the season, the better we got.
Yeah.
I don't think I can say that I can't speak for other high schools, but I can just I just don't think every other high school kid or group of kids was working as hard as we worked for the chance that we would play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like even right after we got shut down a week later, we moved the weight room
I remember that.
We moved the weight room from the high school to like 4 people's garages.
Yeah, I remember that.
You can't lift at the school, and we were working out in people's basements just for the dream that this might come back. So honestly, in all honesty, it was just, we just fell in love with the process of like getting better and chasing the dream. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what you would have to say.
I mean, and you have the perspective of an administrator too at the time, because you were the athletic
Yeah, it was
director.
very difficult. It was truly the best and worst of times.
Yeah.
I mean, in my lifetime, it was awful, but it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Really great. So it was very hard, but the rise and the falls were as dramatic as you can get. I mean, it was a very trying time in respects to the political side.
Yeah.
You know, all the stuff that was going on, and you trying to be a professional too, because you're a leader in the district, which I try to hold true to at every step that I took. But I'm also the football coach who's trying to do what's best for kids.
Yeah.
Doing what's best for kids isn't always doing the popular
Yeah.
right
No,
thing.
I get what you're saying.
And when you're a leader, you have to make hard decisions.
Yeah.
But you have to follow the law as well. So there's a balance between a lot of things, and it's very stressful and very trying. And we were up and down, and I just had to hold it together and make sure everybody knew that we were, no matter what happened, God has a plan. Like, if he takes us off the field, he took us off the field for a reason. If he brings us back, he brought us back for a reason. But if I didn't have perspective like that, it would have been like devastating, because no matter what, you're being told things, you're being attacked. Any little turn, I'll give you an example. I would be in a meeting at the school because one of our coaches took a drink out of a water bottle and didn't have his mask up.
That's wild. I didn't know that.
Okay, it gets. I could go on and on. It was as intense as you can think.
Yeah.
There were meetings regarding things that had nothing to do with COVID that were very attack driven, but that was the current state of society.
Yeah.
Society was very divided, and there was a lot of weirdness going on out there. And we, in our small town, we're pulling it all in our little scope, our little small scope of Montague.
Yeah.
Like we were pulling the narrative in, all the narratives.
It's weird because usually Montague's kind of protected from that.
But it wasn't.
And in that case, it wasn't. And I think you saw a weird divide in a town that's not been divided like that in a long time.
It was almost magnified.
Yeah.
Like we were really living a lot of the drama and the stuff that people shouldn't have to live in society. Like it's absurd stuff. And we were driving through absurdity. Like it was crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And we had to just stay sane and faithful and one another and God and everything else. Otherwise we wouldn't have made it. Like it was like
I remember like it always was weird. It always felt really weird. And I know it was weird for a lot of people, but when we first got shut down and we went home that first, I think it was 2 weeks, we went home and I just remember I'm so thankful it was summer. Or it was at least close to summer because had that been in the winter, oh my gosh, I wouldn't be able to live. Oh, it would have been awful. But I think Owen, my brother, and I went outside and played basketball for like 6 hours a day, every day, because that's all you could do. Like we didn't want to go down to my grandparents because they were at risk, so we didn't want to go down there and possibly get them sick because they're both at risk. I mean, my grandpa was a 60-year smoker, so he's really at risk. And so we can't go over to friend's house because... Quick break from the action to thank our sponsor. Meraki Performance is a leader in performance coaching. Whether you're looking to motivate your business or your athletic team, Meraki Performance can help. Check them out at MerakiPerform.com. That was part of the policy at the time, was that you don't go to people's houses unless you know them or you're very close with them. And even then, it's still like, do you...
Everything was under the microscope. Yeah. And I rightly so under what was going on. But like Drew had mentioned, these guys had built like weight rooms. Yeah. Well, nothing could be driven by us. And I was going to rewind the tape a little. And you asked him a question about what was the difference between that group, or what was the main driving force. It was the kids. Yeah. So the kids, any team, player-led teams win games. Mm-hmm. And so, like, really intensely player-led teams win championships. That was an intensely led player-led team. Like, so his group of buddies had a mission. Yeah. So everything that was being done legally, but then because of the trying times, it was being looked upon as maybe illegal. Yeah. And we could get even deeper than that, but it was very strange because these guys would drive the ship legally the way it had to be done. I had nothing to do with it. Yeah. And I rightly so give these guys credit. That's awesome. But we weren't celebrating that. We were attacking it. Mm-hmm. A lot of attack was coming down. I felt like when they won the state title, they beat Clinton that day, and all those teams that put running clocks on outside of Whitehall, by the way. But Whitehall played us very well. But they beat so much more. And if I wrote a book on that, you should. Those guys beat way more than Clinton High School. They beat way more than Whitehall High School and all the teams they ran through. They beat a whole bunch of things that season. They really were resilient kids and just like driven. Yeah. Like he said, they don't know if they were going to return. Yeah. And what they were dealing with COVID and the scrutiny that was coming in and the pressure, it didn't matter. They kept driving right through it. It was amazing. Yeah. I remember how wild it felt. I don't know if you remember Miss Moreau. I remember sitting in her class, and this was when this was all going on, and we left. It was the day we left for those 2 weeks, and she's like, "We'll be gone for 2 weeks, and we'll be back." And she said it to me like 6 times, and I was like, "I don't think we're coming back. Like, this seems bigger than just I don't think we're coming back." It was crazy.
And then 2 weeks later, I'm sitting in her Zoom class. I'm like, "Did we come back?" Because I don't think we did. But it was just that it was such a weird time, and then I felt like it got even weirder during the winter because during the winter it went to the state level, because now you had Governor Whitmer deciding, do we play, do we not? And then you had
Yeah.
what was the protests? I can't think, or the movement.
The name of the movement.
I can't think of it. It was like something to play. Let them play, I think.
Yeah, let them play.
Yeah.
A lot of people down at the state capitol. And
Yeah.
Yep.
And then having that whole thing, and then even at basketball games after that. I mean, we were on a team together during basketball season, and like the chairs are all lined up weird. And then, even then, Montague didn't have a normal bench for, like, it was the bottom row of bleachers forever was the bench for the basketball team. And then all of a sudden now we have chairs. It was such a weird, and like the
was
bleachers,
crazy.
it was so weird. And I just remember,
Everything I had when I did practice plans, I had to build them, and I had to have written practice. We always had written practice plans, but I had to build couple new columns were built on COVID safety. So I had a description next to each area when we were warming up. We did a new warm up where we would space out 5 yards apart in a grid format, and instead of being in lines and running down and running by your buddies and getting to the back of the line and coming back, we created a 5 by 5 yard grid of players that would work up the field and back and not move from their positioning. So they always remained 5 yards apart by 5 yards.
it's super impressive that you got like, I don't even know, like 30 high schoolers to do that.
Yeah,
all in the same. Same
a lot of
square.
it was silly though too, because we
all know
Coach
all
would-
of it was silly now that the scoreboard's out on the whole COVID thing.
Yeah,
we all
but
know that
what
now.
I'm saying is, like,
That's hindsight's
some of the
2020.
policies were silly to me. Like we'd be like, okay, we just won the game. We got to go to the end of the field and talk to coach. We do our tradition. We slide in the end zone. Okay, COVID copter. We spin around with our arms out like this,
COVID copter.
which is to keep social distancing.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be 6 feet if you don't touch anyone's hands. And coach gives us the end of the game speech. All right, guys, we just won this trophy. Okay, let's all get together for a picture. Right after we just spread out for our coach.
Yeah, no-
we would get.
And we wouldn't be able to shake hands, but we could hit them and tackle people all game in the
Yeah.
trenches, and then at the end of the game we had to wave.
It was
Yeah.
just silly.
It was like, or when you walk into a restaurant, it went on and on. We could go forever about
Yeah,
this. But the point is, you walk into a restaurant, you wear a mask to your table, and then you take it off when you get to your table.
Yeah.
I remember it was I was a little salty that we got shut down, but I was watching a U of M basketball game on TV, and they were indoors without masks playing basketball in the state of Michigan. It was a home game. And I was like, but we can't play football outside with masks on?
Yeah. Well,
And I
that's
was
kind of how I
like-
felt about golf
Yeah.
season that year too, because
Yeah.
like you remember, we had to wear masks walking on the golf course, and I'm like,
It was wild, dude. No,
what are we doing?
Well, we thought it was wild then.
Yeah.
It's really wild now that the scoreboard is out.
Yeah. Like I just
It is. Like it's wild. Like, holy cow.
yeah. And
What happened?
yeah, it's just, I just look back and I'm like, kind of, that whole time was just, I think a lot of it was driven by fear, and by a fear that,
Yeah.
I mean, a fear of death in a way, I guess, which
For
is
sure.
normal to be afraid of that, but just such,
Shame. A lot of shame.
yeah, like,
shaming people and scaring them to death because they feel shameful.
yeah,
Because they can't do anything and they're going to get shamed, and you killed that person or
Yeah.
whatever. And so that's
Yeah.
a big deal.
yeah. And, I'll be honest, my grandpa died from COVID. I don't say he died from COVID because he actually died from the 60 years of smoking he did,
You're
smoking
right.
cigars.
I remember.
Right,
Yep. I
right?
remember
Like,
that.
so it's not, and that's what a lot of it was that the at-risk group got sick, and that's who is passing away. And I mean, both my grandparents got sick. My grandma was close to passing away as well, and then my grandpa got it, and he ended up actually passing away from it. And the whole thing was just so wild that I just look back on it and I'm like, was that really a time that we went through?
Yeah.
Was that a real
Yeah,
thing?
it was a trying time. And then this, I would say the positive is the whole point of the whole
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah.
When you look back at what they accomplished,
Oh, yeah.
regardless of COVID. Like if you
At this moment, we would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Park Place Sports. Want to support your local athletics program? Look no further than Park Place Sports. As a leader in banner and sponsorship program for athletes, they provide top-notch services to help your team shine. Visit their Facebook page, Park Place Sports, LLC, and see how they can elevate your athletic program today. Park Place Sports, your partner in athletic excellence.
Erase all the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff these guys did was phenomenal.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, just a state championship in and of itself is impressive. And then to do it on top of that with COVID at the same time is even more impressive.
Right.
And yeah, basketball season was so weird. And then I had my heart surgery at the same time.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So then I got to be in the hospital during COVID, which was the weirdest thing. Like in a cardiology unit, which I was in pediatric cardiology, was the unit I was in, which means basically it's me and a bunch of babies that are in there after having heart surgery. And then like I could only have my mom or dad in there. My brothers couldn't come up and visit. The team couldn't come up and visit at all. And I remember having being in there and just being, it's normal to be bored all day in a hospital room when you're just sitting there. But then to be bored because the only person I can talk to all day, and no offense to her, was my mom. And after a while of talking to my mom all day, every day, it's like
you communicate.
It's like all I'm doing is texting people, and I remember I joined Miss Smith's Zoom call because I was bored in the hospital bed, and I was just like, "Hey guys, what's up?" They're all like, "Why are you in the Zoom call?" I was bored. I had nothing to do.
I need some social interaction.
Yeah, but it was such a wild time. But I kind of want to jump into what you guys are doing now. I know you playing football at Michigan Tech, right? And then you're coaching at West Ottawa.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about the journey to West Ottawa, what that's been like, how the program has grown, and how the team has grown overall.
Yeah. So when I resigned there at the end of the 21 year, really after we won the state title, Drew was moving on and graduating. I was in a mode where I felt really blessed. Honestly, even though we went through those hardships of COVID, all the positives, and I reflected on a lot. Susan and I went on a trip and had some good talks about what I want to do and what's happened over the years. And I'm like, I got to leave this. Like, I got to let this go. Like, I've already done way more than I've ever dreamed of here. Mm-hmm. Like, I never had a dream that we would win a state title together. I did want to win a state title. Yeah. I didn't say 3, and I never said the last one was going to be with my son. Yeah. Like, or any of that. So I was like, I'm just very fortunate. Like, I need to move on and let someone else step in and other coaches step in and coach their kids and whatnot. So I guess what happened, what was really strange is right after that, West Ottawa had an opening. Their coach resigned and they got a hold of me and they started having conversations with me. And it was a little bit out of the box for a while, like maybe not going to happen, maybe in my mindset. But part of me wanted to give back to my wife's alma mater like I gave back to mine. Yeah. And I just find that kind of fun. And I gave back to mine, and now hers is calling me, so why wouldn't I get back to hers? Yeah. So I decided I'm going to go do that. And it was a new challenge. It wasn't the typical job. We've come a long way there, but it still remains a challenge. Yeah. But it's a fun challenge. Yeah. It's I like to grow and learn, and I'm learning there. Yeah. And I like to have things difficult. Yeah. And not that it was always easy at Montague to win, but I want it hard. I want to learn, and I want to grow as a person and as a coach and so forth, as a professional. Yeah. And I thought West Ottawa would provide for that for me, and it definitely has. So it's been great. How are the challenges there different than what they were at Montague? Because West Ottawa is a much, much bigger school than Montague was. Yeah. How is that different? So they're dealing with there's a lot of depth to their culture and what's going on there as far as football is it's not a football town. Yeah. And there is no town or community. Yeah. So there's no sense of this connectedness to the football team and Friday Night Lights and the whole thing like we had at Montague. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that whether it's through the cultural barriers or the barriers with the lack of sense of community, they just don't have the numbers to be really good. Mm-hmm. I think we've done a good job overall putting them in position to win. And the kids that are all in, the numbers that we do have been awesome and changed their culture and their mindsets, which has been fun to watch. But I don't think we're on in the next phase of business there would be to get more people on board because our numbers are about what they were since I've got there. Like it went up when I showed up a little bit, but it's plateaued since then. So we really need to. I'm working on the youth program right now.
Yeah.
And we're building that up.
Yeah.
So our feeder system's getting stronger.
Yeah.
Because the feeder system in general there is really low.
Yeah.
It struggles.
So here's a question for you, and you might not be able to answer this, and it might be kind of a long-winded, answer if you are able to. How do you build that culture in a town or in a place that doesn't have the town to be able to connect it? Like, what is your connector there?
Yeah, so the connection, what we've really come up, first of all, it starts with a mission statement, and a belief and a vision. And then we try to, it comes down to, you're very well aware this stuff is branding.
Yeah.
In today's day and age, I'm not willing to get out on social media very well, but I have some staff that will. Well, what we're trying to build a culture through just literally our brand.
Yeah.
And then my day job fit really well because I'm the director of student and family engagement. And my whole job in the district as an administrator is building a sense of community and connectedness among the district people through extracurricular activities. So I'm getting families to come up to games for free, and we're giving all families free tickets to games and sports events. We're getting kids to join after-school activities, including sports and enrichment programs, all for free.
Yeah.
We're trying to build that sense. We're playing some of our elementary buildings didn't even have a logo on the wall.
Really?
No. If I went up to an elementary kid when I got there 4 years ago and I said, "Who are we?" Because I used to say that at Montague, and the kids would all yell Wildcats. And then who do we love? And they'd all say each other.
Yeah.
Well, I did that for years. Well, I'd ask the West Ottawa kids, "Who are we?" They had no idea they were the Panthers.
Yeah.
These are kids in elementary school. There wasn't really a lot of logos and signs. If you were to drop someone off and blindfold them and drop them in one of our campuses and say, "Where do you think you are?" they could look around for 5 minutes and say, "I have no idea."
Yeah.
We need to brand it so kids know that they're Panthers.
Yeah.
And so we've been doing a lot of that to build that sense of community. And we really do feel like it's rising up. I just haven't seen the full effects of it just yet.
Yeah.
I've only been there for
Plant the seed to reap the crop later. Yeah. And then for you, Drew, what are you doing now? I know you're playing football at Michigan Tech, but what's the future look like for you?
I'm playing football at Michigan Tech right out of high school. I went there as a quarterback. I've learned some things about myself and a lot about the game. I got switched positions. It was kind of a crazy scenario. I went into the season as the backup quarterback.
Yeah.
And I had kind of been used as a utility. This was the 2023 season. I kind of been used as a utility in 2022, and just kind of like a tight end, but also like a quarterback, H-back, where I could run the ball in the red zone and maybe throw a block here and there. But going into the 2023 season, we were lacking depth in our tight end room, and we were like a week out from our first game, and I was prepping to be the backup quarterback because just like any college football program, if the starter goes down, you got to be ready.
Yeah.
And that's kind of was my mindset for a while, was I have to be ready to play in case something happens. And that's where I was until like a week before the season. They said, we need a tight end. And from that point on, I started the whole year. And then after the season, we had a conversation, and we basically landed on tight end for the next year. And so I was able to build my body up. And actually, I lifted and acted and trained like a quarterback.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean I lacked any work ethic. It just means there's when you get into college, you got to start to specify how your body looks, how much you weigh, how much you bench, how much you squat. So I really had to hone in on that this past off season.
Yeah.
And then this year I played tight end and started this year, and then I have one more fall next year.
Yeah.
I have set new goals for myself.
Let's take another moment to thank our sponsor, Shoreline Restoration Construction. Did a storm recently hit your business, home, or other building? Then Shoreline Restoration Construction can help. They are a leader in remodels, new construction, and much, much more. They also restore water-damaged buildings, flooded basement, and so much more.
When I went in there, I didn't expect this to happen.
Yeah.
But I've set new goals. Obviously, education's a huge part of that, especially at Michigan Tech. So I want to play football. I love football. I'm going to play as long as I possibly can. But also, I'm ready to get my degree. And Michigan Tech they just have a good reputation of degrees, and I'm going into my graduate degree next fall. So I'll be pretty much wrapping up here. It's kind of crazy to talk about, but next fall will be my last semester on campus, and then I'm pretty much done.
And he's getting married in May.
I
Oh,
am
really?
getting married. That is the biggest news.
We
Yeah.
heard you're engaged too. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
So you'll be done as of basically end of next year?
Yeah, about this time next year, I'll have a few credits I can take online.
Yep.
But I've talked to my advisors, and they think it would be best for me to job hunt. And they said
Yeah.
those classes they're kind of just capstone classes that
Yeah.
I can take from anywhere. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try to look for a job, look for a place to settle with my wife. And then, just finish my schooling. I'll just have one more semester.
Any chance you're coming back to the alma mater?
That's a good question. I have aspirations I love West Michigan. I have
Yeah.
no complaints. When I left Montague, I realized how much I loved it. And
Yeah.
I knew I loved it when I left, but I chose to go somewhere for school that wasn't comfortable for
It's
me.
cold.
It's cold. It's not comfortable. It's a long way
Yeah.
from family and friends. But I felt like I needed something different. I wanted to try something different, as great as Montague was.
Yeah.
But I do love West Michigan. I know Sarah, she loves West Michigan.
Yeah.
And I do have aspirations of being a coach someday.
Yeah.
But do not have my heart set right now on
Yeah.
specific.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer right there.
It's and it's the
His
truth.
buddy was talking about coaching up at Lake City High School.
Yeah, Lake City is looking for a coach, and one of my buddies is like, "You're gonna coach, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, we'll hire you right out of college or something like that."
Yeah.
That'd be a gig right
Yeah,
there.
it would
It'd be a long ways
It's a
away.
good spot. Montague's a great place.
Yeah.
Obviously, but there's a lot of great places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just have to make the best of those places.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like you want to get out a little bit, get
Yeah.
away from home a little bit, and I completely understand that. I didn't, just because that's not how things ended up working out for me. But
Right.
I understand wanting to get away from that, and
Yeah.
and that was a great answer. You learn from the best.
Yeah.
On how to schmooze a little bit.
I guess so. Yeah.
And so, well, I appreciate you guys coming on. This was one of the better episodes I think we've had, and episode 3 of the season. Excited to see what you do in your final year at Michigan Tech, and excited to see what West Ottawa does next year. Hopefully, we can expand our coverage area out there to get some.
Yeah, that's
some
what
SportsNet
we've been
coverage.
talking about it. We were talking about it prior to some of the transitions you guys went through.
Yeah, yeah.
Trying to get it down the lakeshore. They don't get a lot of coverage down there.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like there's this weird spot in between Muskegon and Grand Rapids that doesn't get like any coverage.
No, they don't. MLive's just too. They don't have the capacity.
Yeah. And then a lot of the schools in Muskegon actually are just like they hire somebody to come in and do some of that coverage. So they don't get outside media coverage. Like Reese Puffer is one of those I think of. Muskegon gets a ton of coverage. Mona Shores doesn't get a lot of coverage outside of Scott now doing the stuff for them. So and then Grand Haven they have the Tribune, but that's about it.
That's
in
about
between
it, yeah.
in between
We have the
those.
Sentinel, and that's all
Yeah.
we get.
Yeah. So like having that, trying to expand there while also trying to keep it manageable because there's only one of me.
Yeah,
And then we got our sports nuts, but outside of that, there's not. Friday nights can become like there's been a few times where we've actually Instagram has a posting limit, and we have hit the posting limit in a night of football coverage for scores, which
Yeah.
on Instagram, which is completely wild. I think one night we had like 70 posts. And the
Yeah.
night we covered like 6 football games.
Well, CatchMark has been unbelievable for this area and the kids and the families because our families and kids up at a bigger school, West Ottawa, with all the resources they have and the money that they have down there, they don't have anything like this.
Yeah.
The amount of kids that have said, "Man, I wish we had that in high school," is unbelievable.
Yeah.
People love it.
We're very fortunate here to have CatchMark. That is not that normal thing for communities. So.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it. I'd love to get up there. That's the goal eventually. Is we want to get there. We want to expand. We want to continue to cover there. Eventually, we want to cover the whole state if we can. We're just not that big yet.
Playing some games that matter this year, and maybe you guys.
Yeah, if we can actually win a couple games, it might get you up there.
Yeah,
for a
maybe.
game. And the coverage of a game at our stadium. Maybe one of the highlights of maybe on your calendar, if you end up going that route, would be where you want to be because it is like nothing else.
Do you guys play Muskegon?
Amazing.
Oh, really? I've never been there.
Yeah,
They
it's
just built it.
it's
Oh,
beautiful.
oh yeah, I heard that.
It is, and I think it's just the atmosphere of these Class A games in the OK Red Conference.
Yeah.
No offense to games around here, and I don't really play. I never knew how many people were at the games. I'd ask coaches after game, "Did we have a good crowd tonight?" Like I have no idea. Too dialed in to realize it. And down there, I do realize it, which is weird because I think it's just so overwhelming. You just realize it because the place is packed.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. Like percentage-wise, is Montague more packed as compared to the size of their stadium? I don't know if you can even really call it like a stadium, but the field.
I would say it's similar. They just follow it in a different way. It's a mature following, like a college.
Yeah,
So at Montague, there was some groups that might not go to the game or what for whatever weird reasons, but you'd have a good following if you're winning. We always had a good following. And then down there, they literally, all the groups would like tailgate before the game like they would a college.
Yeah.
So the cross-country team's just excited the game's on Friday because the cross-country girls are going to tailgate in one section of the parking lot before they go to the game to build team unity. And another team, the soccer team, is going to be in another section of the parking lot, and they're all going to come in.
yeah,
And our student section is going to be massive because it's fun, and it's just part of the culture there.
yeah,
At least that culture is thriving.
Yeah.
They love the student area. They call it the black hole, and it's huge and it's massive, and everybody's excited, and they're talking about it all week long.
yeah.
Which is it's cool.
That's awesome. Well, if we can, we'll try and get out there. We'll try and get you some coverage. Especially if you guys play Mona Shores or Muskegon or Reese Buffer or any of those. I know that you guys are in the red, and most of those teams are in the. Is it black
Is
right
it
now?
black now?
I think
or
it's.
green?
I think it's
like,
the. I think it used to be the green. I think they're in the
you
black
guys cover
now.
Puffer, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I've had to deal with Cody already.
Yeah.
He made me play in his tournament. To get him on the
did he?
podcast in season 1. He made me. He goes, "I won't come on unless you play my golf tournament." And so I had to go play in his golf tournament. So I got a bunch.
His fundraiser?
Yeah. So I got a bunch of guys from the office. I got Curtis Holden.
And you guys played there, yeah.
Oh, my brother, me, and Curtis made an eagle on the first hole, and then we didn't do anything after that. And it was just all pars the rest of the time. But yeah, well, I appreciate you guys coming on. Good luck this next season. I hope everything goes well with your future marriage, and I'm excited to see what you guys do going forward. And thanks for coming on.
We appreciate having.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for having us.